As you already know, Swift just dropped a major announcement, partnering with Consensus to build a blockchain settlement system with more than 30 financial institutions globally, like banking giants JP Morgan, HSBC, Bank of America, are all assisting in helping Swift develop this shared digital ledger with real-time 24/7 cross-border payments.
Today, I'm very pleased to announce that we will add a blockchain-based ledger to our technology infrastructure to allow for trusted movement of tokenized value. You may wonder, aren't those opposites? Swift and blockchain, TradFi and DeFi, can they really go together? Well, in the regulated system in the future, we believe they can. Banks are ready for it, and they're asking us to play a big role.
And tons of people are saying that Swift just ended XRP in one move, saying things like XRP is cooked after the Swift announcement with Link, and even Yahoo Finance publishing articles saying, now that XRP is dead, what's next? With a Swift executive calling Ripple a dead chain walking. This is a massive deal because everybody knows what Swift is, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. They were established back in 1973, and they provide the main messaging network through which international payments are initiated globally. They have over 11,000 financial institutions in over 200 countries, making them the largest company for cross-border payments worldwide. So with XRP sitting at $2.82 right now, and people wondering if this is game over for XRP, the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, we need to address the elephant in the room. No sugarcoating in this video. We're diving into the facts. In this video, a likely outcome for Ripple and XRP, what Swift's real plans are with this partnership with Consensus, and even what's going on in the European Union launching a regulated layer 1 blockchain, specifically for tokenization. So, with real-world assets going institutional, no more experiments, is XRP going to be completely left behind? Or is this all part of the plan for a much bigger power play for Ripple and XRP that over 90% of crypto investors are not seeing right now? So in this video, we're going to talk just about that. And by the end, we're also going to discuss what's happening on the charts for Bitcoin, the altcoin market, and the XRP, the US dollar price chart. Plus some altcoins that our research team has shared with our private community members that have done 10x's, 20x's, 50x's, and over 100x to help you make as much money as possible, regardless of whatever happens with XRP, so you can still absolutely crush it in the crypto market. So if you're feeling bullish, comment 777. If you're feeling blessed, comment 777. And as always, if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, you know what to do, man. Confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. Do you love crypto, but are you worried about taxes shrinking your retirement nest egg? Here's the deal. Trading and selling crypto can trigger capital gains taxes, eating into your wealth. A crypto IRA fixes that. Per IRS publication 590B, traditional IRA gains like those from crypto aren't taxed until distributed. That's why we've partnered with iTrust Capital, a leading crypto IRA company in the USA, to sponsor today's video. And they offer institutional grade custody for retail clients that want to set up their crypto IRAs for retirement, leveraging top storage solutions like Fidelity, Wells Fargo, and Coinbase Prime to keep your assets secure. To get started, simply click the link in the description of this video, sign up for free, and fund your account with cash. They also offer 401k rollovers or crypto transfers, and you can trade 24/7 with just 1% transaction fees and no maintenance costs. As always, I'm not a CPA or financial advisor, so consult one for tax advice, and we do earn a commission if you sign up using our link below to fund your crypto IRA account, but that helps support value-based videos like this. And iTrust Capital already has over 200,000 crypto IRA accounts and over $14 billion in transactions, proving they're trusted by smart investors just like you. So click the link below, get started now by funding your account today, and let's create generational wealth together.
The market opportunity here is massive. You have trillions of dollars flowing cross-border globally. It's still largely dominated by the SWIFT network, if you will. And that's architecture, that's a technology architecture that's developed 50 years ago. There's an opportunity to modernize. That takes time, particularly when you have a government in the US kind of combating that innovation. But that's changing now. You're seeing that in asset prices, but you're also going to see that in the adoption of these technologies. So these are very innovative technologies. I think they're going to play out over 10, even 20 years in terms of how they integrate and rewire the financial infrastructure of the United States. That's across payments. That's across even the settlement of maybe real estate transactions, securities transactions. So I think we're going to see this play out over a long arc. But the United States is finally unlocked, and I think people are underestimating how big that change is, and you'll see that continue to play out this year.
All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So let's not dodge the fact. Swift's announcement isn't just hype. It's hitting XRP holders where it hurts. The core narrative of replacing the $150 trillion payment giant doesn't help when an announcement like this is made, with Swift unveiling a partnership with Consensus and 30 different financial institutions to develop the ledger. So Consensus is an Ethereum blockchain software company, and this move has sparked debates about how it could go head-to-head with Ripple in providing on-chain payment services. And so although this is an initial ledger concept, it's not completely finalized yet. These institutions right here will provide feedback on the design of the ledger and implement the prototype in phase 1 and define its future phases of work. So with banks like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citibank, and other massive banks like the Royal Bank of Canada, Standard Chartered, you name it, I find it very interesting when cross-referencing this list with Grok against Ripple's known partnerships here, including direct integrations with RippleNet for cross-border payments, on-demand liquidity using XRP, digital asset custody via Ripple, or its subsidiary through Medico, stablecoin initiatives on the XRP ledger, and other blockchain collaborations. As of recent 2023 to 2025, Banco Santander uses RippleNet and Xcurrent, and this has been ongoing since 2016. Bank of America has been testing RippleNet for payments. According to Yahoo Finance here, Ripple partnered with BBVA to provide its digital asset custody service as BBVA launched Bitcoin and Ethereum trading for retail customers. And that development removed the need for customers to rely on third-party platforms or custodians, now introducing Ripple's custody service. BNB Paribas, they use Medico, which Ripple acquired, so it is technically Ripple's company now, for digital asset custody as well. BNY Mellon is the primary custodian for Ripple's stablecoin. DBS Bank tokenized their money market funds and lending via Ripple with Franklin Templeton to offer accredited and institutional investors trading and lending services using tokenized money market funds. First Abu Dhabi Bank has been a RippleNet member since 2016. HSBC partnered with Medico that Ripple owns for tokenized securities. Mizuho is another RippleNet member, along with MUFG active in Japan corridors, which is why Brad Garlinghouse said this in an interview.
Markets like Japan, I think, are still unlocking. The market opportunity here is massive. You have trillions of dollars flowing cross-border globally.
So CA Forge is launching the EURCV stablecoin on the XRP ledger using Ripple's custody service. Standard Chartered has been a RippleNet partner for global payments. So it's very interesting how 12 out of these 34 banks are either directly or indirectly partnered with Ripple. And this is just a fraction of Ripple's partners. So this leaves a lot of people wondering if XRP is the digital asset and payment protocol designed to make cross-border transactions faster, more effective, aiming to modernize the global payment infrastructure, with XRP serving as a bridge currency in Ripple's ecosystem, enabling near instant settlement between banks worldwide. Then why didn't Swift just make an announcement about XRP with these banks? Or an announcement with Ripple, because Ripple offers a suite of solutions like RippleNet and their on-demand liquidity service, which uses XRP to facilitate international payments. So it's very clear to understand that not every bank that partners with Ripple uses XRP directly. Some leverage Ripple's messaging technology while others use XRP for liquidity. So the majority of fully integrated partners using RippleNet for messaging and settlement are not currently using XRP in every transaction, which is why tons of people out there on social media are bashing XRP right now. Even mainstream news companies like Yahoo Finance are even saying XRP is dead. See this article saying Swift using XRP just officially collapsed, with Swift developing their own blockchain ledger. Now the key here is this is a prototype. It's not completely finalized yet. And their goal is to deliver interoperability between existing fiat rails and digital asset ecosystems. Now, the word interoperability means the ability of computer systems or software to exchange and make use of information, allowing them to operate in conjunction with each other, which is causing people to be more bullish on Chainlink, saying things like Swift literally just destroyed the XRP thesis and confirmed the Chainlink thesis with one update. Now, I'm actually extremely bullish on Chainlink. I've been talking about it for years. I even made a video 16 hours ago positioning it as one of the top altcoins that I believe will make millionaires and calling it the backbone of the DeFi ecosystem. But it's interesting how even with this news, Chainlink is still down between 20 and 30% from the high here in August, regardless of this incredibly bullish news. Even Linea, which launched about 20 days ago, is down from its high of 3 cents, nearly 30%. And so with the $150 trillion giant Swift teaming up with Consensus, which Ethereum and Linea is a backer, alongside these 30 global financial institutions and banks, well then why is Linea down 28% from the high? And why is Chainlink down over 20%? Even going back to Chainlink's 2021 high, it's still down over 60%. Well, that's a topic for another video, and we also address this inside of Altcoin Pro University when you guys go through the Technical Analysis Essentials course that I've been talking about over and over and over again. If you do not understand how to read a chart, it doesn't matter how bullish or how bearish certain news is about a cryptocurrency, whether it be Chainlink, Linea, XRP, you name it. If you don't know how to read a chart, then you're going to continue to get wrecked falling for overly hyped news or overly bearish news, because companies like Yahoo Finance make their money off ads, which you can see at the top of this video, and the more people that they have clicking on their articles, the more ads they can place, the more money they can make. And when they use sensational headlines like this saying that XRP is dead, even calling Ripple a dead chain walking here, it's going to get them more clicks. Now, I fully understand this because we use dramatic titles, dramatic headlines, which is why you clicked on this video to watch it. But my goal has always been to give you guys the facts, talk about what's actually happening so you understand the truth. That way you can come to your own conclusion, because these videos are not financial advice. They're purely for educational, informational purposes only. And that's why I do these deep dives for you guys so you can better understand what's actually going on. So don't just believe me, do your own research here. Because with people like Swish saying things like every major institution will launch their own blockchain, imagine not knowing this and betting that a bridge currency XRP would replace SWIFT or be needed by banks. More chains is better for Chainlink. Well, I don't disagree that this is good news for Chainlink. It's very good news for Chainlink. But did you know that Ripple, through RLUSD, adopted the Chainlink standard for verifiable data to fuel DeFi adoption? And with the banks updating for the ISO 20022 standard by the end of this year, Ripple's partnership from Chainlink will expand to capture value from this, no doubt.
So this is not a concept. This is not an idea. This is not a plan. This is a product. This is a product that you can start integrating with and interacting with, and you can get on a roadmap where you can begin to interact with hundreds of different digital assets using your existing systems, your existing private keys, your existing SWIFT standards, as the way to do that.
And Brad Garlinghouse has waged war on Swift, saying things like this.
Ripple is like Swift, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, Ripple's starting point, kind of our first use case for the technology, the blockchain technology, and the digital asset XRP was to solve that cross-border payments problem.
Right.
Swift is quite antiquated, kind of designed 50 years ago. It's slow, it's expensive. I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is in fact taking over Swift, in that we've now signed up well over 100 banks. Some of the largest SWIFT-enabled banks in the world are now using Ripple's technology. I mean, just last week, we saw a remittance company who's using Ripple's technology. They reduced the price per transaction to their consumers from $20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that Swift isn't able to support that we're able to address right now.
One of the former board members of Swift, a gentleman, Marcus Treacher, joined our team to run all of customer success. And, this was, a former board member from Swift coming over and saying, hey, we don't think Swift's going to be necessarily a solution to really unlocking this internet of value.
I mean, Swift is kind of a competitor. It's slightly more complicated than that, because Swift is really just messaging. When you send a Swift transfer, it's not liquidity. You're actually sending bank messages to banks that have liquidity. So to some degree, Citibank and HSBC, really the top two, JPM, those are the top three liquidity banks. And when you're sending Swift messages, you're sending messages to banks to release liquidity and making sure the debits and credits match. So to some degree, really boil it down, Ripple's competing with the liquidity of Citi and the messaging of Swift, but in one, because we're both messaging and liquidity. And at the end of the day, again, as I described, Swift was developed 50 plus years ago. It architecturally hasn't really changed. It does remain slow, days. It does remain, relatively speaking, expensive. And actually, interestingly, it's quite error prone.
Now, there's an age-old saying, you definitely heard this before, if you can't beat them, join them. Basically meaning, if you're unable to defeat an opponent or overcome a challenge, it's more beneficial to cooperate with them or become part of their group. So while people are saying that Ripple and XRP won't overtake Swift, here's the truth about the actual plan here.
Competition has clearly been a good thing for Swift. I think that I do think what has happened at GPI is a big step forward. For 40 plus years, we had a construct around how cross-border correspondent banking worked. It worked, but it had a lot of limitations. We're seeing that move forward, but I think it's a step forward when you're switching from kind of, if I may, horse and buggy to, hey, can we make the horse and buggy go faster? Sure, but if we can actually just move to a Ferrari, let's do that.
So you've said before that you think there's a world where Ripple could take over Swift.
Well, I've also said I thought there was ways we could work with Swift.
Let's talk about that.
Well, I'll start that comment just by saying, look, Swift is owned, I think Godfrey, by the way, has a very challenging job. Swift is owned by the banks. It isn't a traditionally kind of construct. You have a very strong chairman, and in-house Citi kind of is an important stakeholder in that. But at the end of the day, Ripple's trying to help financial institutions and banks be successful in the future. How do we enable Santander to compete more effectively with PayPal, with Amazon, Facebook? And it's not going to be in settlement times measured in days. It's not going to be measured, settlement costs measured in $15+ So I want to see our mission in life really has been, how do we help these financial institutions be successful? Those are the same financial institutions that own Swift. And so in many ways we've thought, hey, we could work together. That hasn't played out, and I think increasingly we are seeing more and more banks adopt Ripple's technology, and we're seeing that play out. But I have a ton of respect for what Swift has built, just to be clear.
Gottfried, how do you feel about a partnership with Ripple?
Well, first,
we can negotiate it here.
Let's do that.
Maybe a couple. One is there's two types of competition. I think the one is between the bank-centric model, and then there's lots of people who are trying to build cross-border payments outside of the bank system, and that's an interesting one to watch. And there you could see a shift in paradigm. I do think that there will, going forward, be a crucial role for banks. There's a reason we have banks. There's a reason they're regulated and all of that. So I don't see the role of banks going away if they innovate fast enough, which they, I think, appear to be doing. So it's the banks to lose. So from that perspective, we are on the same boat of having a bank-centric model. In terms of one of the exciting things about the new GPI platform is the fact that it is extremely interoperable and open, and we've always had links to other networks. We're going to enhance that with API access. We are announcing, I think, later today, a proof of concept with R3, an R3 blockchain on trade, where you can initiate a payment on the trade platform and then it goes into GPI. So we're exploring interconnectivity with a lot of things, and banks have always been about that interconnectivity. Right now, you can, to some extent, you can already do that. If Santander is on Swift as well, so they can act as the peering point between the two networks. So the last thing we want to be is a closed system. I think the world belongs to open systems going forward, and that's another interesting example is. In a lot of countries, we now see real-time systems emerging, domestic real-time systems, several of them on the Swift network. In Australia, they went live last year with the Australia new payment platform, real-time, domestic, that runs on our rails in Australia. And we are now working with 4 countries in Southeast Asia to interconnect the real-time systems that they have there, using GPI as the glue between them. So essentially, you go from country to country, leveraging both the domestic real-time rails and the cross-border GPI. The other thing that excites me about it is I firmly expect that within a few years, GPI will be de facto real-time cross-border. And the way that works is because now for the first time you can track your payments, we already see that banks are starting to see where the bottlenecks are. So if it doesn't arrive within minutes, they can see what's holding it up. You can also see which banks are still on batch processing and which banks have already, most of the banks have moved to real-time process. So this transparency puts more pressure on the banks to improve their speed. And by the way, it's always good to keep in mind that Swift has never been the bottleneck. We run a telco, a network that transmits the messages in seconds. It's also good to keep in mind that cross-border payments, the $10 that you mentioned, are part of that thing. A Swift message costs 3 cents at the end of the day. So we've always provided a speedy and cheap connectivity. I think what it is about now is to enable the banks to leverage that and really make it work in seconds as well. And I am completely convinced that in a few years you will have the experience over Swift and the banking system to be able to do it end-to-end in a matter of seconds. We will see that evolution thanks to the transparency that the platform provides.
Gottfried, why not use Ripple's technology to do that?
Well, we'll have to see.
In this announcement right here on Swift.com, their official website, their main goal is to accelerate and scale benefits of digital finance across more than 200 countries and territories worldwide, working on the shared digital ledger to focus on real-time 24/7 cross-border payments. And while a lot of the skeptics are focusing on this partnership with Consensus here, they're not really paying much attention to this part right here. Building on earlier pilots, Swift will also add the capability to support interoperability across existing and emerging systems for various use cases. Now, as you already know, interoperability basically means to operate in conjunction with each other. And while people think competition is a bad thing, it's actually a really good thing because it progresses the space. This reminded me what happened in basketball in the 1990s. For those of you that were born during this time, that's when I was born. This was one of the most iconic eras of basketball. And a lot of people, knew that Jordan dominated the market, but with the competition for these other players, Jordan raising the bar, it allowed for all these other players to compete at such a high level that it just made it the most iconic era for basketball that arguably today's day and age will never match. And this is where the dream team came from. And what I think we're going through right now in blockchain tech and the cryptocurrency space is the equivalent of what happened in the 90s for basketball. And the debate back and forth on social media about which coin is better is hilarious from my point of view because it's all tribalism. If you just look at the metrics here on the YouTube channel, 87.3% are male. And according to Google AI, based on recent research, studies show that men comprise around 60 to 70% of the sports betting market. And so those studies vary, but it's pretty obvious that males like watching sports. We like betting on NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, you name it, through apps like the Hard Rock app. And the reality is crypto is no different. People love to pick their winning players, but instead of players, they're picking their favorite coin. But the smartest investors in the world that are building their fantasy quote unquote altcoin team are well diversified in the market, and that's why we created Altcoin Pro University to show you guys the top altcoin picks to draft the dream team for your portfolio. So from my point of view, competition is a good thing. If Chainlink is dominating through direct partnerships, well then Ripple through indirect partnerships doesn't need to take over Swift. They can collaborate with Swift because this update will further expand the accessibility to regulated tokenized assets and boost blockchain use cases in the financial system overall. Also, when Swift announced rolling out their client solutions to connect different systems, supporting both private and public networks, this is just the beginning, guys. This is a prototype. And just like the example I used for basketball in the 90s, well, it's like what happened with shoes too. You see all these prototypes of all these shoes, Air Jordans, Nike, Adidas, Converse, you name it. And people went crazy all over social media. When a company dropped a shoe, they're like, oh no, it's over for this other brand because this new shoe came out, when there's more than enough market share to go around.
The market opportunity here is massive.
So you got to remember here, Brad Garlinghouse as the CEO of Ripple, his job is to also help market the company. So when he says things like take over Swift, those are just buzzwords for marketing to attract more investors, regardless of whether they take over Swift or they collaborate with Swift. It's the same thing Donald Trump does by saying everything he does is huge. It's the largest, it's the biggest. You have to assume the posture that you're the best, that you're going to dominate everything if you want your company to succeed in this day and age, because competition is fierce. If you're in the shoe game and you're not telling everybody your shoes are the best, you're going to take over the game, you're going to dominate, then you're going to get left behind. And as you guys already know, Steph Curry is partnered with Under Armour. Does that mean that announcement killed Nike? Of course not. You see players like Damian Lillard, James Harden, Trae Young, sponsored by companies like Adidas. That doesn't mean that Under Armour goes out of business or Nike is left in the dust. So it's very clear, banks want blockchain for payments. This is incredibly bullish for the whole crypto industry. In terms of organizations being able to transform their value propositions to their clients, API integrations are part of the technology set of capabilities that are more readily available and deployable today. One area Swift will not be considering is generating its own digital assets or cryptocurrency, saying that generating and being responsible for the issuance of an asset is not our business. If banks want to go down that route and create and issue assets that are available in alternative formats, they're able to support them. Their network can support them, but we don't want to compete in that space with our members. So the ISO 222 update is changing the payload. So what's changing in their data model recently? Well, crypto is the new feature that's added to the ISO 222 MX message payload because Swift wants to dominate the high value flows for the foreseeable future. They don't want to just give up their business that easily. So the map is not just binary here. It's not just one company taking all the market share. That's not how it works. You don't just have Apple taking everything. Microsoft can compete. In the shoe game, like I just mentioned, you don't just have Nike, you have Adidas, you have Converse, name tons of different shoe lines. Sure, there's going to be some that are bigger than others, and the top few are just going to dominate the market share where it's like the top 5 and then the rest are fighting over scraps. So the key is to really just hold the top 5. It's like having your 5 starters. So it's very clear that XRP is one of those starters. Very clear that Chainlink is one of those starters. And then you could just choose to fill in the other ones for what you have in your portfolio based on what we talk about on this channel and inside of Altcoin Pro University. That's why Swift is partnering with these massive fintechs. And we've seen clients funding wallets using standard chartered accounts over the Swift rails. So in this framing, Swift becomes a connector of the fintech and bank ecosystem rather than a rival to wallets or cryptocurrencies. So cross-border payment systems like Ripple can be be used in conjunction with Swift. And so right here under their future agency model, where the payload remains on the distributed ledger, they're saying we believe that by overlaying a richer data layer onto proven systems like Swift through their token technology, this will allow for much greater adoption and likelihood of becoming a global standard. At the same time, the interoperability, which is the ability of these systems to operate in conjunction with one another, means that it can also be used in conjunction with cross-border payment systems being developed by players such as Ripple. And with the competition in the market, well, this is going to bring down the cost of cross-border payments overall. And the $300 billion stablecoin market, dominated by dollar-pegged stablecoins, is going to enable users to transfer funds directly without intermediaries. And this is why European banks have also outlined plans for a euro-denominated stablecoin by 2026. And it's also why 10 European banks are launching a regulated Layer 1 blockchain network specifically for tokenization. And the International Monetary Fund released this document right here called Trust Bridges and Money Flows, a digital marketplace to improve cross-border payments. They use this word here called trust links. Now, trust plays a central role in exchanging credit-based money. Users of money need to trust the issuers of money to not default, and issuers must trust users to satisfy financial integrity requirements. Now, the biggest trust factor has been on regulation here. Because the SEC attacked Ripple, saying that XRP is a security, well, transactions are only possible when the trust exists from a regulatory standpoint. And interoperability between different forms of money can thus be conceptualized as the network of trusted links necessary for transactions once there's sound legal systems in place. So when person A wishes to send money to person B in another country, the interoperability problem becomes harder to solve, and the common settlement platform is replaced by a common messaging system like Swift, which allows entities to agree on the terms of settlement, but does not actually settle transactions by moving assets as the real-time gross settlement system does. So the central bank or other government bodies are no longer able to build the trust network between Bank A, Bank B. Instead, the banks must build their own bilateral trust links, and this costs a significant expense here. And so you can see this in this figure right here on the screen, which also shows Bank D without cross-border trust links having to operate through Banks C and A. So in this example, Banks A, B, and C serve as so-called correspondent banks, and Bank C in particular shows how such correspondent banking chains can become long and very expensive. So in practice, the lack of common settlement assets held by both Bank A and Bank B requires banks to either extend credit to each other, which is the credit model, or to pre-fund potential cross-border payment needs into Nostro and Vostro accounts. And both models build on the bilateral trust relationship established between the two banks. So this is a problem that Ripple's been solving because cross-border payments are expensive, slow, they're opaque, and there's limited trust amongst counterparties. So transactions are only possible when there's trust links in place. And interoperability between different forms of money can thus be conceptualized as the network of trusted links necessary for transactions are in place to tokenize money directly across borders. So this is where they propose 3 settlement models, such as Ripple's XRP, an open source marketplace like Stellar's Foundation, or a settlement asset based on unbacked crypto assets like Strike, which leverages Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. And at the beginning of this month, we saw Thunes and Ripple expanding their global partnership to transform cross-border payments. And Swift recently teamed up with Thunes, which has 130 plus payout countries, 320 plus payment methods, 80 different currencies. They're building a global payment infrastructure for a better payment experience. And through the Thunes API, businesses and customers around the world can send payments to and accept payments in every corner of the world instantly. So if Thunes partnered with Swift and Thunes' only payment mechanism is Ripple, and Thunes is saying they're the smart superhighway to move money around the world, connecting directly to over 7 billion mobile wallets and bank accounts worldwide, as well as 15 billion cards, well then why is no one paying attention to this partnership with Ripple? To further streamline global money movement and broaden payout reach across key markets. So I think comments like this are a little more accurate. As far as anyone's concerned, the Swift Chainlink chatter doesn't mean anything to Ripple. It's not like Ripple was caught with their pants down here. All the partnerships, all the money, all the years and connections that Ripple has created over the years. And people think that they didn't saw this coming. They saw this before Swift even knew what distributed ledger technology was. This is why companies like Franklin Templeton partnered with DBS Bank and Ripple to deliver tokenized trading and lending. This is why BNY Mellon, the world's largest custodian bank, overseeing $55 trillion in client assets, partnered with Ripple to custody reserves for their stablecoin. This is why Standard Chartered, with over $800 billion in assets, is integrating with BRICS Pay, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, for cross-BRICS payments. And Standard Chartered is also an active partner in Ripple's network, integrating RippleNet for cross-border payments in Asia and over in Europe. I could go on and on and on. We have PNC Bank with over $500 billion in assets under management, which was the first major US bank on RippleNet for real-time international transfers, using XRP for liquidity in select corridors. And you could do this for yourself. Go to ChatGPT or go to Grok and ask it to name every single Ripple partner and what they're currently doing, and just look at this list. It's absolutely massive. It's one of the largest in crypto, if not the largest. So for companies like Yahoo Finance to publish articles saying that XRP is dead, calling Ripple a dead chain walking, and for trolls on Twitter with pictures like this as their profile picture here, with their bios saying things like you must fail in order to succeed, and saying things like Swift is going straight for the jugular here, well, it's no different than the articles that came out about Michael Jordan saying that he's overrated, that he diluted the overall quality of the NBA, that he wasn't a great defensive player, and articles going into detail about why Michael Jordan is not the greatest player in the NBA. And saying things like why LeBron is the GOAT, not Michael Jordan. But yet Swift makes an announcement about consensus in Ethereum, and everyone loses their mind and says it's over for XRP. Well, if you compare the settlement speed, the cost to transact, the network state, and the security and compliance here, you can come to your own conclusion. Just look at this image on the screen right now. Ethereum is still slower than XRP, it still costs more with the gas fees. Swift is testing this as a prototype here, whereas Ripple has active corridors in every major region, partnerships with hundreds of banks, a ledger that settles in 3 to 5 seconds with near zero fees. Swift's prototype doesn't erase XRP or put a nail in the coffin, it only validates the demand here. So the real end game here is that Swift is experimenting, Ripple is deploying. And the deadline for the ISO 20022, the new messaging standard for electronic data between financial institutions, has been confirmed for November of this year, less than 2 months from right now. So Swift's mission is interoperability here. We've made that very clear throughout the course of this video. They never plan to pick one token. The new prototype is designed to connect multiple systems, public and private, and existing rails in blockchain. It's not a threat to XRP, it's validation of the space. Ethereum is powerful for smart contracts and pilots, but there's high fees, there's congestion issues, limited scalability, and at scale, these weaknesses show why fast, cheap liquid assets like XRP are needed. And with people using the argument about how price hasn't moved with bullish news for XRP, well, that same argument could be made about Chainlink, with Chainlink still being down 60% from its all-time high. Or if people use that same argument for XRP, it's down 22% from its all-time high. And if this news was so bullish for something like Linea, well, why is it down 28% from its all-time high? It's all about liquidity here. So don't focus too much on price action based on news like this, guys. The bottom line is that Swift's prototype doesn't replace XRP. It proves the future of finance is digital, interoperable, and global. Banks want it, institutions want it, and this is why XRP may be Wall Street's dark horse with spot ETF filings in motion and some funds viewing it as the next Bitcoin here. This is why all of these ETF filings the SEC is going to be deciding on in October for Bitwise's XRP ETF, Canary Capital, 21 Shares, Wisdom Tree, Pro Shares, Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, Hashtag, among several other companies. They know the demand is there. They know the partnerships are there. And they're just lining up to capitalize. So XRP only breaks out higher when the rest of the altcoin market breaks out higher. In order for the altcoin market to break out higher, we need to see Bitcoin breaking out too. So one thing we've spotted on Bitcoin's price chart compared back to the past is this hidden bullish divergence. Now, simply put, a hidden bullish divergence is when the price chart makes a higher low, but yet a key indicator makes a lower low. Now, if you look at Bitcoin's price chart right now, it's made higher lows since the tail end of April, but yet the relative strength index has made lower lows. So this is a textbook hidden bullish divergence. Now, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, we saw the same thing for Bitcoin from May of 2020 until October of 2020. Bitcoin was making higher lows on the price chart with this ascending support right here, just like we've seen happen since the beginning of May with this recent sell-off for Bitcoin, bringing it back down to this ascending support. But on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you can see the relative strength index was making lower lows. Just like the bottom right-hand side of the screen, the relative strength index continued to put in lower lows, while Bitcoin bounced off of this ascending support at $108,700 to $800. So based on the data that we're seeing on the charts here, that's how I form my opinions. It looks like we're going through something like this on Bitcoin's price chart that we went through similar in September to October of 2020. Although I do believe that we're a little bit further in this market cycle, I'm not comparing to the time frame. I'm comparing to the hidden bullish divergence. A hidden bullish divergence is a continuation of an uptrend signal. So once this consolidation pattern is done for Bitcoin, I believe Bitcoin is going to absolutely explode in October into November. And we could see the next major leg up in the market for Bitcoin to go through the euphoria phase. And when that happens, that's when XRP would start performing well too. Because until Bitcoin and the whole market sees some new liquidity coming in, XRP is just going to go sideways / down in the short term. XRP has come in contact with this support multiple times. And as you know, when price action makes contact with the support or resistance, the more times it makes contact with it, the weaker that it gets. So if XRP comes back down to this support again, and Bitcoin just consolidates sideways, well, then that would mean that Bitcoin's dominance would continue to trend up in the short term. So I talked about this in the accelerator program inside of Altcoin Pro with my expectations for XRP's price chart to see a sell-off in the short term from this descending resistance on the 4-hour chart. And sure enough, that's exactly what's happening right now. We saw this bearish cross on the stochastic RSI. Sure enough, like clockwork, it's turning to the downside. So even regardless of all the news that I just shared with you in this video, both bearish and bullish news, if you don't know how to look at a chart, you will continue to get wrecked over and over and over again, believing the hype or believing the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's why it's important for you to understand these chart patterns, to know how to use key indicators. And that's exactly what we teach inside of Altcoin Pro University, whether it be on our accelerator program calls or on our live calls that we do every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, providing you with the top alpha that you need to know in the crypto space to do what? To become an altcoin pro. So if you're bullish on XRP, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. If you're bearish on XRP, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see what other altcoins our research team are extremely bullish on, then make sure you tap in through the first link in the description and watch this video that I made for you. That's 13 minutes long. It'll explain everything that we offer. And I know you're going to absolutely love it because our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1, 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University through the link below. And although we make no guarantees because crypto is definitely risky, guys, this is only $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want to save $194, getting 2 months for free and unlock some exclusive bonuses, just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now. Watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers to help you become the first millionaire in your family tree, if that's a goal of yours. And you can get started through the link in the description below right now, or you can go to bullrunners.com to take advantage of the bonuses we're giving you before they expire. Everyone is loving the community. They're loving the education. They're getting access to real-time altcoin picks first before we ever make videos about them. So click the link in the description below, watch the video, and I'll see you on the inside.